He took permission. I'm sure he took permission.
But Solomon, in doing the introspection, we also need to ask the key questions that over the last 12 months and the inroads have been made in the economy. And predictably, 2022, by May, we were transitioning into being having our financial instrument marked for market valued. Subsequently, we also had the issues post 2022 and then going to the IMF as well, even though it had been long predicted by April of 2022 that we should go. You make those two comparisons. Should we be extremely worried by way of the two economic structures and gains, or should we not be, but just be tempered in our predictions?
Well, I'm not Edudzi to be extremely careful with my utterances, because from where I sit, I don't see this war traveling beyond 2 weeks. In all fairness, the Iranians allowed their security system to be infiltrated. I mean, it is just not a mark of a strategic country to have all your leaders killed at a go, one strike.
I was surprised.
It tells you that, and the Mossad has infiltrated them. That is why they are doing what we call target striking.
So the two conflicts are not the same?
They are not the same. I mean, this is target striking. And that is how come Donald Trump could be bold and say that he's causing the DFC, that the Development Finance Corporation of the U.S., to be providing insurance guarantees to ships that would attempt to use the Strait of Hormuz. Because they know that they have weakened the Iranians. Secondly, the Iranian strategy, I disagree with, what's the name, Jabunti, when he says that the Iranians are being strategic by attacking neighboring countries. That is the worst decision. Because they are the people you run to. Most often, it's Qatar that has been intervening. This time around, it was Oman that was even doing the negotiation. You have attacked all of them. You have attacked Kuwait, you have attacked Bahrain, you have attacked. So it means you have created more enemies. Exactly. So how are you going to survive all this? Coupled with the fact that they also have a midterm elections back in the United States. But you see, the Americans have been strategic. I now understand the clear rationale behind them going to Venezuela first. Remember, they went to Venezuela and took out Maduro. Because Venezuela is the world's leading, what do you call it? They have the largest reserves,
330 billion.
So they got him out, and they are now controlling the market. So that in case the Iranian war even prolongs, they are saved by that. Moreover, it's 20% that is using that route and mostly going to like India, Japan, and China.
Asia and some of China particularly. But if China is affected, we're affected.
Yeah, in terms of their production in other sectors. But the point really is that it tells us as a country, we must begin to look at options of processing our crude locally. And here, now that toll that was destroyed and run down by Kofi Tonto's administration is now back on its feet. I believe they must look at the medium to long term objective of processing our crude rather than we sending it to Singapore and then other places and rather buying finished products. Now you see, sometimes some of these matters, I don't want to do politics, but I was very surprised to hear my brother Kofi Tonto. Unfortunately for him, I was also in the NPP. This attempt to wish, it is not his prayer. I can say with every certainty that it is not Kofi's prayer that the war ends as quickly as possible. That is not his prayer.
It's his prayer.
Does he not belong to the New Patriotic Party?
But he's representing, and he's saying that's not.
Is he not a member of the New Patriotic
Why do you draw this
I'm building a point. Okay. Look.
But Edudzi, you are sitting there chuckling. This is an unfair attack on your brother. And you are sitting there chuckling.
Please, I'll also...
Look, the US and Israel, they carried out their strike on Saturday. Is that not the case? Immediately the strike took place. I could count no less than 50 non-NPP members on their own, as if they have been drafted that message All of them saying that nobody must come and tell us that exogenous factors must affect Ghana, because the distance between Accra to Kiev is shorter than the distance between Accra and Tehran.
Well, why not? They said that was the argument that was being made.
Who made that argument? If he has any blame to put on anybody, it is his own candidate, flag bearer, Dr. Mahamadu Bawumia.
Why so?
He told us, whilst in opposition in 2016, that how can exogenous factors bypass Cote d'Ivoire, Togo, Burkina, Mali, and then only affect Ghana? And he was laughing on top of it.
So are you saying that is the basis for that argument?
Yes, he introduced it. Nobody had made that. It hadn't become part of our lexicon, our political lexicon, until he introduced that phrase. That how can he bypass all these neighboring countries and only attack Ghanaians? So when the Russia war took place, then people played back to him and said, but you have given us that assurance that there would not be any reason why exogenous factors would affect Ghana.
Dr.
Mahamadu Bawumia said it. And you see, he has already done the campaign for Allah Chairman. Look, he said it in one of his numerous lectures. And he was even laughing on it. If I had a video, your producers must do as the greatest one by playing it.
So why don't you tell us the exact thing?
So why is that important?
It is important because my brother started by saying that nobody must attribute. In fact, as we speak, there has not been any change in any petroleum price.
Actually, there was yesterday.
Which
there
one?
was a change yesterday. If you don't know, I'm telling you.
There
was 11.
The
normal pricing window. That's fine, but he just said there was no change, and I'm telling you there was a change.
In order
so if you can attribute the fact,
in order for the response flow,
that's
just
fine.
allow
but I just wanted to correct him that yesterday I bought petrol and the price had changed.
Solomon, please.
Kofi Tonto has been off this program for a long time, so maybe you must repeat some of the guiding rules that we operate here. It's been a long time. He has been doing business on Wound to Me and those places. You have come back home. So listen to the rules of engagement and appropriately behave.
Oh, sorry.
You understand?
It's okay. Solo, please go on.
So, I can tell you that from where I sit, this will not prolong. Now, they always go back to Russia-Ukraine war and make a case with it. As we speak, Russia-Ukraine war is still happening.
This is a silly argument.
It's still happening. And why are we not experiencing the levels of inflation that we encountered during their time?
Oh, come on, sir. Edudzi,
you understand?
No,
and again, these people, so they won't allow me to speak today. These two people, you bring this man here under the cover of neutrality. That is a lecture. Every statement has made.
Didn't you say
no.
Kofi, when you were speaking, was that not here?
Okay, go ahead. I'll respond.
So take your time out. If you have any response, you don't have better. You understand? Look, to further expose how they were not serious as a government. Before Russia, Ukraine, we were in COVID. Is that not the case? Now, during COVID 2020, the average price of crude was around $40. Remember, fuel reduced to the extent at the point was 5 cedi per liter. At that time, if we had a serious government that was thinking about the well-being of this country, they would have bought more crude and stockpile. Even the ant, that smallest, what's the name, creature, is able to save for a difficult day. You did not do that. You messed up the economy. You decided to invest in things that were not necessary. You decided to invest your life in corruption. Money that were meant for developmental activities, you took it to yourself.
What does that got to do with exogenous factors affecting?
So there is that. If they had managed the economy well, every day there is something happening on the international scene. But it is the way and manner you manage yourself that would to assuage some of these risks. And not to put everything on these exogenous factors as we were made to believe. And that Russia-Ukraine was not what brought us to that cynical...
We went to GDP, we did external...
GDP. You had gone to borrow. Listen, you had gone to borrow money from the Ghanaian. Before you go and borrow, you do your cost-benefit analysis. You know what you are going to invest the money in and how you are going to rake in the returns. You took money from these pensioners, Dr. Samuel Ama and Co. that you will pay them back. You took the money, you didn't invest it well, and it became a debt, and you say you should attribute it to Russia, Ukraine. Who does that?
Why not? Because you have to be able to.
How are you going to be able? This is
collect enough CDs to be able to pay back.
So I was expecting that before he even commenced his statement, he should have apologized to the good people of this country. As his boss has done. Remember, Dr. Mahamadu Bawumia went around the country and started apologizing. What was he apologizing for? He said, I mistake. What was he pleading for? His boss recently.
It's a Mufanche.
You know, when we were in class, that was what he was doing to us. So if your boss is saying that we should pardon you and forgive you, you cannot be here and be saying otherwise. Either than that, what it means is that you do not even agree with your boss.
So what should we be doing, Solo?
What we must be doing as a people is that we must continue to invest in strategic areas. This war will not last. The maximum will be 2 weeks, because it will not inure to the benefit of the U.S. economy, even in Israel's economy, and so on and so forth. Trump has been making fun or making noise about how he has been able to reduce inflation, how he has been able to stabilize gas prices. It will not be in his own interest to cause this whole indicator that he has achieved within record time to be destroyed. And that is why he says he's providing what? Security at the Strait of Hormuz. Let's have confidence in the system. Let's believe that the war ends early, and let's move on with our life, and rather call out these naysayers who wish this country the bad luck.
Just to be more specific, he hasn't said that he wants the economy to go the other
No,
side.
it's on TV. It's on TV. It's on TV that he said that he knows. He knows.
So
he doesn't believe in this prayer.
You're meeting.
So once again, good morning to my distinguished colleagues and your good self. As you rightly pointed out, fuel runs this economy. In fact, I always say that even though in terms of the downstream contribution to the economy is about 8%, looking at 2023 data, in terms of impact, it is more direct. And so if you have a situation where today as we speak, the geopolitics events in the Gulf regions had made it such that there's going to be impact from that. Now, my proactive sector minister, the Honorable John Abdullahi Jinapor, immediately summoned a meeting, which meeting all the energy sector heads were all invited. My good self, GMPC, BOST, Tema Oil Refinery, all of us and all the technical heads to discuss ways by which we can possibly mitigate the impact of what is happening in the Gulf region, particularly on Ghanaian consumption. There were two things that we're looking at. Impact in terms of supply, that's availability of the product. And here we are looking at energy security standalone and also pricing. And so we needed to run all the simulation for him. I mean, some of the matters you can't disclose in terms of public listing. But what we know and where we sit is the fact that at least for the next few weeks, we have what it takes to keep this country running.
What is few weeks?
I wouldn't say 5 weeks, 6 weeks, 7 weeks, but I can tell you that we have enough for some weeks.
Is it more than 4?
It should be beyond.
Okay.
You know. Now, the other thing too is that we are not only looking at what we have currently, because you see, as we speak now, there are about 4 vessels at anchorage, each one having almost 40,000 plus metric tons of petroleum products, only waiting to discharge. You understand? That takes it to almost 160,000 metric tons. That alone can take us another. Then the other thing too is that thankfully, because of the strategic location of Dangote refinery, and remember that Dangote does about 650,000 metric tons
In Nigeria?
In Nigeria, of petroleum products. So they are able to refine 650,000 metric tons daily. And they are getting their crude. More importantly, Nigeria also does its own crude production, which is a bit far away from the theater of the conflict. The other thing too is that currently at Lome, I'll use the word we for the sake of the analysis, is the fact that the big oil trading companies have about 550,000 metric tons of petroleum products. That's almost 12 vessels. Also, just in Lome. And these were consignments that happened before the conflict.
Okay.
So usually what happens is that there's a mother vessel that can bring in 120,000 metric tons. Then the smaller vessels will come and do ship-to-ship, kind of discharge. And so currently, in terms of the first window and others, it is not that precarious.
Then what is precarious, Edudzi?
What we are all hoping and doing our projection is that the conflict should not extend beyond maybe 6 weeks, 7 weeks, and the rest. That is when you begin to see the other, cascading impact. What is not in doubt is that if you look at particularly the geography of the Middle East, particularly the Strait of Hormuz, where 20% of global crude and petroleum product passes, right? You would notice that in those areas, the direct impacts are usually on India, China, and the rest, because they move their product more directly from those ends. Ghana predominantly, where we pick our products, are usually the Rotterdam, the Singapores, and others. However, when this thing is going up, the uncertainty impacts on crude prices. And so from 66, 67, it's now hovering, almost getting to $90. So that's significant jump. But what is also not in doubt is that if the conflict also extends for a longer time, it creates its own new normal, in the sense that, excuse my language, as we speak, the Russia-Ukraine war has not ended. But eventually, things normalize even though the conflict is there. Because the problem is that the traders now, the uncertainty they have is what will happen tomorrow next, or a week after two. A time will come that they'll begin to also begin to normalize. The other thing too is that the International Energy Commission, which is not the Atomic Energy, there are two different organizations. They have also called an emergency meeting. Which emergency meeting? They are trying to see how they can increase production among the organization of all, the OPEC members to see if they can ramp up production. The difficulty really is that this war doesn't help anybody in the long term or short term, including America. Because remember that when this conflict happens, it is going to impact on the price of gas, like the American, they call it gas, in the US of A. That has the result of influencing inflation. President Trump has a midterm election coming up, I think, in November. And he wouldn't want to go into that election with inflation skyrocketing. And so there's also going to be some pressure coming from the Republicans generally on him. And so the scenario currently is a bit volatile and fluid. The challenge is that, you have a situation where Iran is bombing its neighbors, right? Saudi Arabia,
UAE.
The UAE, Oman,
Qatar,
Kuwait. And
Bahrain.
if you look closely, you will notice that the Strait of Hormuz, one end is Iran, the other end is Kuwait and Oman. And so it is not a thing that you alone can unilaterally just block the streets. The only fear is that once you do that, freight costs, insurance, and others will also go up. I just read one of President Trump's True Social tweets, where he's saying that American forces are going to even shepherd vessels through the Strait of Hormuz.
Okay. What's our monthly consumption?
I wouldn't want to disclose because you see these numbers are not, you know,
they are fluid.
They are very fluid, and they are not. And let me tell you, one of the things that we are also looking, and those who are around the borders, we are just sending you clear message. The challenge is the possibility of movement of products into our neighboring countries, particularly
because of shortages they may have, etc. Okay.
Because of
the
that,
price.
And so what we have also done is that our security forces are seriously collaborating the border areas to ensure that they hold that end. And so if you have any plans of engaging in any smuggling and others, just know that the security forces are on you within the border region. So overall, I would say that government is taking all proactive measures to ensure that the country does not suffer unmitigated relative to the events happening in the Middle East.
No, you're writing. What are you writing?
No, thank you.
Yeah.
I want to believe that generally agree with the position by the NPA. And the idea is that this war is more predictable. Will it have an impact on us? Yes. Will it be as devastating as the Russia-Ukraine? No. Part of the reason is also because of the geopolitics. Europe is supposed to be one of the most stable places in the world. In fact, the Nobel Peace Prize was launched precisely because to celebrate that there will be no war in Europe. So when the war started in Europe, which was, let me say, not expected, the disruption was what? Bigger and more devastating. It did things that there was Germany never thought. France never thought. All these countries never thought that one day their oil supplies would be disrupted in any way or format. And then they never thought that any day they will have to look for new ways. In fact, remember, Germany was actually building, a pipeline to Russia to directly collect oil and come. So, and there were even approvals, the Americans finally approved or something like that. So they never in their wildest mind thought about that. And that is what happens to natural disasters. So this is not natural disaster, you could call it, but once it happened,
it's a force majeure.
Force majeure, thank you, that's what I was looking for. Once it happened, Europe now had to look for completely new ways. Remember, the sanctions were raining in. So it's like nobody was prepared for that one. That is why the effect of that was so devastating.
Which one?
So difficult, the Russia-Ukraine war. I'm just talking about Edudzi. Here, it's more predictable and more known in the sense that Iran is already under sanctions. Most countries, most West countries do not pick oil from Iran precisely because of the sanctions. Secondly, that region is a hostile, hostile region precisely because of U.S. war efforts. Let me even go back to issues of terrorism and what have you. So people already knew a region that was, unstable or had serious security concerns. So once you have it coming there, it's like, we know this. Because most of the powers are not picking from there, then the consequences to maybe a little bit limited. And there's a fourth thing, and that's what he said, is the politics. Nobody expects this war to go as long as anybody expected. Already you are talking about strategies in the embrace of the US and Israel, like the weapons they are using. So even from there are two perspectives, and there are people saying that even the devastation is having, especially in Israel and in America. See, Americans, when they start bringing bodies home in bags, opposition to the war increases. When they start bringing,
and they've started, presidents become
exactly, and they've started sending bodies home. If you start closing embassies and sending people back where people are running, then it becomes, the political consequences of it becomes difficult. And as Edudzi alluded to, before you realize, Republicans who are running on seats that are not so secured for Senate, for Congress, for governors are going to start calling, listen, let's wrap this up. So the pressure to stop this war is going to come from the Republicans first.
Already, Trump has made a point that if they lose both Senate and Congress, he risks being impeached.
So they're going to use
so
that.
That's also a due. And another Congress did not give
authorization. So
the
that's the second thing that may later. The third thing is that Iran chose a very strategic way to fight this war. They took it to America, and they took it to American allies. You see, there's no direct phone line or diplomacy between Iran and the United States.
It's quite a distance.
And there's no direct diplomacy between Iran and Israel. So Iran has no way of contacting them. It says, okay, I'll take it to your friends. I'll take it to your neighbors. If you're hitting Saudi Arabia,
interest.
Exactly. If you're hitting Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Ukraine, the UAE, they have direct connections to Trump. They have direct, and they have lobbies, dozens and dozens of lobbies, both in Tel Aviv and in Washington, D.C. These lobbies will not go, because look, it is affecting the economies of these Gulf nations in a very devastating way.
Terribly.
Chasing away, look, because for years, these countries have paraded themselves as oases of peace, of luxury. People want to go to Dubai and chill. Solo wants to go there and, okay, I don't want to talk about what you want to go and do there with who. But people want to do this. So because of the chilling nature, yeah, he told me. Because of the chilling nature of Dubai and all this, nice beaches, nice place, because of that, it attracted a lot of capital. These countries, and that serenity, or let me say it's a bubble has just burst. And they want to quickly go back. They want to go back to business as usual. So the pressure they are exerting on Washington and the UN and others is also enough to end this war. So the calculation is that this war will not go
like Russia.
No, it will not. Even if it's a month, it's too much. So it will strategic. Now, I think what is happening is that America is looking for a way to tactically retreat. Israel is looking for a way, because see, Americans know how to get in. Their problem is hard to pull out. Usually, in all the wars they've gone to, getting in sometimes is just the easiest way.
So your prediction is that the end game was not to go in.
No. Americans never have an end. Especially in the Middle East.
They had a strategy, targets, and then they've achieved that already.
Thank you. So if you look, the whole of all the wars America has gone to in the Middle East, they never have an exit strategy. They have an entry strategy. They know how to get in quickly, fast, efficient, how to get is the problem. But I think this one, because of all these interests I've talked about, they will force the war to end and to end quickly. And once it ends quickly, then the impact, the devastating impact that may come, may not be as much as we expect. But as I said, if it goes beyond 2-3 weeks, the damage may be difficult to get due. And it may affect all the projections, inflation and other projections for the year. But I don't see it going that extra length.
Okay.
And because you are even a professor of political science, possibly the ultimate is regime change. But if you look at the nature of the penetration of the Islamic regime in Iran, it's difficult to do a regime change. But
Trump can take the killing of Khomeini as a victory. That's what I'm saying.
No, he
can declare and then say, ego.
Right.
So you say, I've gotten the guy, now let's end it.
It's okay. Now, let's have Kofi. Let's have Kofi Tonto. And predictably also means that individuals and their lives and businesses have been shattered in a way, because we've had stalemates. No commercial airlines have been working, I believe, over the last 5 days. It's been
4 million tourists to Dubai in a year.
And here we are talking about the constraints. We're not a country that are not used to so-called exogenous factors having an influence or effect on our economy.
So, very good morning to you again, Roland, and to my colleague panelist. For starters, let me put it on record that it is my prayer that this war comes to an end as quickly as possible.
What is not your prayer?
No, I want to focus on my prayer.
Yeah, that is your prayer, okay.
Because I know the impact global wars can have on domestic markets. So I am praying that this whole thing comes to an end as quickly as possible. But what this war has brought about is the level of hypocrisy in our domestic politics.
How do you mean?
I'll explain. For about 2 years, we were told that Ghana is insulated, that no bomb dropped from Russia to Kasua or from Russia to Atebubu. And therefore, we should shut up about the impact of any war on the Ghanaian economy.
Is that what was said?
Oh, yes, that was what was said, led by leading members of the NDC communication expert. And that's why I am surprisingly surprised that Edudzi, today, sitting in glory, has turned himself into an energy expert and trying to tell us and educate us about the impact of exogenous factors. Edudzi, this fine gentleman sitting there. Look, we were in this country. We were told that Ghana is insulated, that when God was creating Ghana, he created a special fence around Ghana.
Who said that?
I have told you those who have said it. I have pointed to you the political party which my good friend sitting there is a member and the legal director of. That is what they said. Or you want evidence because we have the videos. We can give it to your production to play it. But today, we are being told that Ghana can be affected. January, February 2022, crude was hovering around $66 per barrel.
2022.
2022.
It's 82 now.
Okay.
You said which year?
January, February 2022.
66.
Crude was hovering around $66. By March, April, crude was almost $120 per barrel. And when you come to the domestic market, there are the price buildup, the actual price of crude, dollar, and taxes. These are the things that generally go into the price buildup of petrol on our market. But on weighted average, the price of crude is higher than the remaining. So if crude prices can double in a span of 1 month to 2 months, certainly it will have an impact on our economy. And aside from the fact that crude, the price itself will have an impact, the other impact is that your import bill increases. And that's what Edudzi was alluding to. Because you import, and he didn't want to say it, we import about 347,000 metric tons every month. At that time, it was $200 million a month. By that singular war, within 2 months, our bill for the same quantity of petroleum products had increased from $200 million to $440 million a month. So what it meant was that you have a direct impact on the price and a direct impact on your FX. We needed more dollars to import the same quantity. We call it the twin problems. Prices have shot up. FX demand has shot up. Of course, it will have an impact on your currency. And once your currency is affected, once the prices have affected, the inflationary pressures exacerbate. We told them.
You told who?
We told them, Edudzi. He's sitting there pretending to be Christ. And now Edudzi wants to tell us about exogenous factors and how they can affect Ghana's economy. You said, and I'm Edudzi, this one I'll commend you and Jenapo, that at least, like Zaato said, this is more predictable. So you've convened a meeting and you want to plan ahead and do what you had to do. You know, that's good, that's commendable. That's what governments are supposed to do, especially when it comes to energy security. But the fact that you have to even have a meeting tells you that indeed our economy can be affected by exogenous factors.
I was speaking to an economist yesterday, and he says that if some subsectors of the economy and the structure of the economy, as well as related indicators, whether micro and macro, are not well stabilized, when you have these force majeure or so-called external shocks, they hit you harder than if you, if you are wobbling.
Of course.
If you compare the two scenarios, 2022.
Of course, I see what he's trying to do. He's trying to tell us that the macroeconomic indicators are better today, and therefore the shock on us will not be as impactful as it was. Look, Go and look at the macroeconomic indicators prior to 2022. Go and look at the macroeconomic. We didn't. No, my point. No, we don't hope for another DDEP. We don't hope for another inflationary pressures. That is not what I'm saying. The point I am trying to make is that Ghana is not insulated as they made us believe. That indeed Ghana's economy is 80% open, meaning we can have that degree of impact, irrespective of even how strong your shocks are, depending on the how strong the exogenous factors are. Take, for example, if the war extends for a year and the straits closed and other exogenous factors culminate, it wouldn't matter if your inflation is 3% or if your, in fact, it will have direct impact on your dollar to the extent that within a week or 2 weeks, your dollar can shoot up to 15 cedis to a dollar.
So that's what you want?
That's not what I want.
Okay,
I have stated to you what I want. What I have stated to you is that I want the war to end so we don't have those inflationary pressures, that our currency doesn't depreciate. What I am pointing out to you, Roland, and to my brother sitting there, is that
but you're not pointing out to me, you're telling the viewers.
Oh, but you're asking questions, so I'm pointing it to you and the viewers and Edudzi, and Solo to an extent.
Hey, but I've not spoken.
Oh, but I know what you are going to say. Please.
No.
This
is unfortunate.
Okay, I withdraw.
No, this is unfortunate.
I withdraw.
Okay.
Please, you've been needlessly hostile towards me.
My brother, I've been sitting here
needlessly hostile towards me. So my brother. So my brother, the point is this.
You like trouble.
We all pray that this war comes to an end as quickly as possible. We all pray that the crude price it doesn't double like it did in 2022, and that we can enjoy at least some degree of peace. I mean, do you know we have Ghanaians who are stranded in some of these places because of the airport getting closed?
I have some friends.
Exactly. Some people actually went without permission. So that place is a vacation spot. So some
people just
I have a friend, he's called Ferguson. You know Ferguson?
Oh, Ferguson is there.
You're always making fun of this Ferguson guy.
Yeah.
Oh, my brother Ferguson.
Ferguson did it.
Oh, he took permission.
But you're meeting the energy minister, or you met, and then
we have. So
okay,
you notice that.
So what are the things that have been put in place?
So you notice that my brother Roxon, who speaks for the ministry, has issued a statement to that effect. Some of the details, we want to keep it at the level. But may I respectfully respond to a few issues?
Please, you only have 4 minutes.
Yes, a few issues that my brother Tonto raised. Let's put the record here. Somewhere in 2015, the Honorable Setekwe had gone to Parliament by way of budget presentation and said, we'll be selling our crude at $85 per barrel. Then from nowhere, the usual geopolitics, it moved from $85 to $40, resulting in massive revenue shortfalls for us. So the Honorable Setekwe had then put out that the economy has suffered largely because of the revenues that were coming in. Dr. Mahamadu Bawumia, who at that time wanted power together with Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo Addo, knowing very well that from the 19 whatever, global issues have always impacted on the Ghanaian economy. I read economics. Level 200, there is a course called Economy of Ghana.
Level 200?
Yeah, level 200. And in that course, we've been told all the things that have impacted the Ghanaian economy since Gordonsberg's time and global phenomena, either cocoa pricing or gold pricing, or now that we've added crude to it. So when the Honorable Setekwe put out that narrative, Dr. Mahamadu Bawumia, who knew that yes, it is true, global phenomena have impact, but the usual politics and wanting to downplay the impact of those global phenomena, at Central University, would the anchor hold?
Central University?
Yes.
Would the anchor hold?
Distinguished lecture series, where in presentation he said, what is Setekwe saying? What is President Mahama talking about? That global phenomenon had impacted on the Ghanaian economy. And that we should go to our neighbors' Ivory Coast here. How come that global phenomenon jumped over Ivory Coast and came to Ghana? Then we said, no, doctor, you even have a PhD in economics. In fact, if you look at his thesis, it was about the impact of elections on the economy. And so you knew the impact of geopolitics on the Ghanaian economy. But for political convenience, you sought to downplay it. So when he now became the chair of the economic management team, and now a narrative was framed by his communicators. One, COVID-19. The NDC had never said anywhere that COVID didn't have impact on the global economy. No. In fact, if you read President Mohammed's lecture at Harvard,
yes, I remember.
He alluded to the impact of COVID generally on the economy. However, he gave a caveat. He said in the specific case of Ghana, because of the 2020 election, the NPP overspent Ghana's money to the extent that by the time they left office 2020, we had a budget deficit of 15%. At that time, it was the highest in the whole of West Africa. Whereas the average budget deficit in the whole West African sub-region was 5%, we did 15% because of election spending.
It was in the upper.
And that was when we said that but for your reckless election expenditure, the impact of COVID would have been minimized.
Kofi Tonto said that.
Hold on.
Said nonetheless.
That was what we said. And so if you want to repeat what we said, Kofi, hold on, please. Oh, be fair to me. If you can't be truthful, at least be honest. If you can't be accurate, at least be the truthful.
You will never be.
Okay. So I am saying, hold on. No,
that was untrue.
No, but what I'm saying is that if you don't frame it well, in terms of the accuracy, and now you see, I recall vividly Russia-Ukraine.
Yes.
Russia-Ukraine, we made the point clear that Russia-Ukraine will have impact if the exchange rate was better placed. Because you see, if you look at the analysis
what are you talking about?
that some people have done, two things, oil prices and exchange rate, are the two major impacts. But one, the impact of one is always faster. Do you know why? Because we are net importer.
Exactly.
And so immediately the exchange rate is not properly managed, the impact is more direct and fast.
What was the exchange rate
wait.
in January
2022?
What was the exchange rate? Ask him.
No, but Kofi,
So exchange rate in 2022 was about 5 to $1.
That was
5 cedis to $1. So what are you
based
talking
on
about?
what?
What are you talking about?
So
How
the
is
point-
this even an issue?
The point we made at that time
In January
was that
2022,
Russia,
exchange rate was
Ukraine,
about 5.
Oh,
So what
hold
are
on.
you talking about?
Russia, Ukraine
You
could
have
have
your 10. Please wrap
Russia,
up for me.
Ukraine could have impacted
Your comments
on the
are
economy.
engendering concerns.
Yes, Russia, Ukraine could have impacted the economy to the extent that the exchange rate was also not healthy.
Okay.
So the point ought to be made. The NDC as a political party has always recognized the impact of geopolitics, exogenous factor. It is you who in opposition sought to downplay it. That was why we referenced you when you now took charge of the economy. We will never play the ostrich. We have made a point, we have been truthful to the people of this country. The combined work of Ato Forson, the governor, Gold Board, and the things that they have done had put a certain stability. The flip side is that when there's uncertainty, people move into gold. And so you see that gold prices are also going up. we would also enjoy that
Absolutely.
benefit.
That's why it has to cushion.
And so you can always see a situation where you can balance things.
Talking about the benefits, he just mentioned it. We will get gold prices are rising, so we are raking more from gold.
Yes.
That is the immediate thing. We also export oil. Let's also be honest.
Yes.
So we also get money from oil
When it goes up.
When it goes as it's going up now. So yes, it's true that these things they have a way of what balancing each other out.
I jokingly told the GMPC boss yesterday that hey, in this room, you are the only one who is happy.
Yeah, because he's going to make money.
You know, yes, and something happens. So, but look, the point we are making is that it's true, and I'm happy that we are moving to a place that we all can then agree that yes, external factors directly and indirectly affect our economies. That's a fact. That's a basic fact. We all need to appreciate that, and it's true that sometimes, depending upon the state of the economy, the nature of the economy, the impact might be more devastating or minimal. It can be. When Russia-Ukraine happened, countries learned a lot of lessons. I remember as soon as it started, the German president started visiting a lot of countries to build networks, started looking for new sources of raw materials. In fact, the Chinese did the same thing. The point I'm making is they learned. The question, what did we learn as a country? Right? Now, I didn't know, maybe Kofi could tell us how, the reserves we had before it hit. But today we are hearing from NPA that there's a reserve. Maybe, was it a policy? Did we learn? Was there something we learned from that? Secondly, I'm hoping that we can then begin to say that let's build a strategic national reserve. I think I heard somebody talk about it.
Look, Central alone, just Central's intervention in the market alone, you'll be shocked. About 30%.
It's very pivotal.
Extremely important.
Pivot. Okay.
So how does Central come
No,
about?
that's what I'm saying. That it's our collective.
It's a
work.
So let me make. So the point is that I'm praying and hoping that we can increase that strategic reserve. If today we are saying, I know he's official, he cannot say because the markets react, but I can say if it's about 4 to 6 weeks, can we increase it? Okay. Can we look at a month, 2, 3 months as strategic? The president was the finance minister went to parliament talking about us having gold. For what did he say? 50 months. Can we do a similar thing for oil? Can we do that? And if we do that, because a country that fails to learn will not go forward. But a country that learns from some of these devastating consequences and puts images, that is what we call resilience. That is what we call growth. We have to do that. As for the policy quibbles, we will do. As for the policy fightings, we do. As for the partisanship and policy, we do that.
From Russia-Ukraine COVID, we've learned some lessons.
We've learned something as a country. We've learned something. In fact, not only as the whole world. If you refuse to learn something, anything from that, then you are doomed to fail. We as a country, we have. And it is not built in our DNA. And that is why I'm saying that we can absorb these shocks relatively better than it hit us.
So the point Edudzi referenced.
What do you think we need to do to make sure?
No, let me quickly,
why you respond to that?
Let me quickly speak to that. The thing Edudzi reference of Dr. Mahamadu Bawumia saying, he was talking about revenue. And he was talking about revenue because, as he said, Ghana is a net importer. Okay?
You mean revenue and its impact on the economy?
No, Edudzi was referencing that crude prices was $88 and it came to $40 per barrel. Was that so?
Yes.
Yeah. And that's because of that, we should have appreciated the impact of exogenous factors. But Dr. Mahamadu Bawumia didn't appreciate it. And I'm saying that there was a particular issue here. The issue had to do with revenues that we were earning. And the argument is that our revenues would decrease because of the prices of crude on the international market. Edudzi, is that not the point you are making? Our oil revenue that we make will decrease.
No, a budget has been presented.
Of course.
Revenues and expenditure.
Exactly.
If suddenly your revenues go down,
I get it.
Impact on the economy.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. That you were talking about revenue. The revenue, so we can even look at what was
what's your point? You don't want to
let me finish
accept
my
that
point.
Dr. Mahamadu Bawumia said that?
No, you cannot say that because you said it.
I'm saying that you need to first and foremost look at your oil revenue, the projected oil revenue at $88 per barrel, and how it reduced. Because guess what? Our oil revenue, sometimes for the whole year, we make about $750 million for the whole year. So let's assume that you are making $750 million the whole year, and it drops to $300 million. That is less than 1% of your GDP. The impact of that cannot be compared to the impact of something like crude prices rising by $200 million a month.
I don't understand. You're saying that the effect pre-2016 of the exogenous factors.
What I'm saying is very simple.
And then the effect of the Russian.
You're all exogenous.
No. I'm saying. Let me finish my point.
They are different.
I'm saying. Let me
confuse you. That's the point.
Jesus Christ. I am saying that there are two exogenous factors. One is revenue coming in. One is prices of that crude oil and its impact on your economy. The revenue coming in, even if it is halved, is less than 1% of your GDP.
And
the
impact prices too were not good at the time.
Please, you can leave cocoa price. He raised crude prices issue.
I mean, you can't
he raised.
Look.
You raised crude prices issue. The point is, in that 2015 year, how much were we making in crude? I'm telling you, it was about $700 million a year.
And it matters not.
Please. So even if it is halved, that is about $350 million. That cannot be compared.
So, Mr. Tonto, do I get it?
Let me finish my point.
Exogenous factors and their influences on the economy pre-2016 or within the 2014, 2015 is not the same as what was experienced with Russia, COVID,
the impact was insignificant compared to, because in the Russian-Ukraine war, the impact per year was $2.2 billion.
So how
in this case, let me finish.
How do we situate Dr. Mahamadu Bawumia's point that was raised about? How then do we situate Dr. Mahamadu Bawumia's point about exogenous factors?
I am saying that Dr. Mahamadu Bawumia's
in isolation of the other countries we have in the sub-region.
I'm saying that Dr. Mahamadu Bawumia's argument was that exogenous factors definitely affect the world, including that.
No. He never said that.
There's a video.
No. Producer, play the video.
Can I talk?
Please allow me.
Let's settle matters.
Let us
settle the matters.
When you were talking and then he was.
No, he interjected.
No.
All right.
There was one exogenous factor.
So you're saying the exogenous factors were less impactful than.
Of course, there was one.
You are reframing the conversation.
Listen.
Dr. Bawumia never said that. The video is there.
I will play it. Why are we diligently with this kind of?
Play the video.
We cannot sit down for Kofi to come and just throw in anything and we go with it.
Okay, please allow.
It's not going to happen.
Allow him predictably.
Okay.
Let me make my point.
He's intimidating us this morning.
No.
Can I intimidate somebody?
No, please. You have to talk about Ayawaso.
What is it?
You want to confuse everybody here so that you get away with it. We will bring him online.
Who is intimidating? The point I'm making.
What's the point you're making?
You are saying that Dr. Mahamadu Bawumia's point about exogenous factors is different than.
No, I'm not saying it's different. I'm saying that all that he was making to you is that one exogenous factor, the impact was $350 million. Another exogenous factor, the impact was $2.2 billion. That's the difference.
What's the source of the 2.2 billion?
I've given you the source earlier by saying that our import bill of petroleum products, same quantity, was $2 billion the whole year, but because of the Russian-Ukraine war, it went to $4.4 billion. That is the difference.
So one was more impactful.
One was more impactful. No.
It's a total lie.
Oh, Jesus.
It's a big fat lie.
Now,
look at the
please. Another bogus lie. Look, another bogus lie that this gentleman sat here and said. When the Edudzi and his government came into power in 2016, our debt stock was about $8 billion. When they were leaving, they had added about $22 billion.
Please,
don't go to public debt.
Let me go. Let me. You said 8 billion.
Another minefield. Let him go there.
What I'm saying
go there.
8 billion. Then he went. How much was the quiz?
They added about 21 billion or so to it, and then we took it to $53 billion. Dollar equivalent that I'm talking about.
Oh, okay.
So dollar equivalent, of course.
8 billion.
8 billion. When that's what President Akufo left, and they added about 21 billion. And we added about.
And the CD equivalent is how much?
No, it's not.
Can I
check the facts right? No.
Why should you put in Ghana cities? Can you guys let this? Oh my God! Can I talk?
Please wrap up.
Can I talk?
Look, please. I don't like the disturbance you are giving.
The bonds that we had to painfully and regrettably debt exchange and restructure were not bonds acquired by Akufo Addo. Because
but they were Ghana's debt nonetheless.
Exactly. You see, debts and especially bonds are 10-year 15-year maturity.
Does it matter? You have to service
I'm
your
not
debt.
saying it matters. I am saying that he sat here and said bonds that Akufo Addo took. And you should have corrected him. Correct. Those bonds were not procured by Akufo Addo. The point I am... Please, let me talk. The point that I'm making is that...
Because there are bonds that are being serviced up to today.
Of course, the bonds we serviced... The bonds we serviced started before us. Kufuor, Mahama Mills, we serviced. Mahama is now going to service some of Mills, Akufo Addo, etc. bonds.
So what's your point?
The point I'm making is that our debt is a culmination of different governments coming together.
So what was the debt as 2017 when the NPP
I said
came?
About 8 billion. They added
the
about,
equivalent is
you can do the calculation at that time per the rate was about 2 cedis to $1 or so. Okay. And then you do the calculation.
I think that it was 3.4.
Okay, so do the 3.4.
That's 120 billion plus.
Okay, that's fine. And then
what's the debt at 2024?
About 26 or so billion. I said we added about
840 billion.
That's fine. No.
These people 120 to 840.
No, but you know, public debt is not a comfortable room for the.
That's why he's giving you the dollar equivalent. Let's expose it.
We can
please wrap up on this.
You can do the CD. You can do the CD equivalent.
Okay.
I don't have
a problem. It doesn't matter.
Because it's just a function of exchange rate.
Okay.
It's not the base value that has gone up necessarily. It's a function of the exchange rate. And of course, percentage terms, NDC added 228%. We added 93% to our desktop. Yes. Okay. I just told you. Desktop, percentage-wise, if you are looking at dollar.
Because the desktop as of December 2024 is in excess of...
725
yes, but 700 because of the exchange rate. Because of the exchange rate. I gave you
so you're saying
dollar...
that 120 billion or 122 billion is better than... or it's less than...
I've not
than 700
I've not ascribed any adjective to it.
Okay.
All that I was telling you is that debts are not a function of one government, and that they are a function of multiple governments.
That's true.
That's the point I was making to you. Now, let me...
what can we do, Tonto? What can we do in this present circumstance as a country?
I mean, for me, I think we have to look seriously into strategic reserves. Right now, we have about 5 weeks to 6 weeks of strategic reserves. Perhaps we need to look into doubling, but that would take a huge amount of investment. So we need to look at...
Do we have the infrastructure?
We need to build the infrastructure.
Do we have the infrastructure we want to save, like do this like 6 months, 3 months or so? But that may be a source of big employment for people if we are building the infrastructure.
No, right now I don't think we have the infrastructure. That is their biggest challenge. And it is
tankage.
Yeah, that is the biggest challenge. So that's what I'm saying, that
we put a lot of people to work if we start building that infrastructure.
Yes.
And you know, the tanks are usually sound in nature. So the dynamics are a bit...
Are we also building like pipelines? Are we also building them?
So for instance, maybe not necessarily because of this, by way of pipelines, you see, if you have the Mpakadan, for instance, the railway line, you can easily move petroleum products by barges through the railway line to Mpakadan, Akosombo, and through the water straight to Bupe. And then you can do the pipeline from Bupe, Sablugu, right to Bolga. Then the rest you can.
Please,
and they say from Bolga to Tumu, you must mention why you not taking so to Tumu?
Very well, very well. We are doing big push to Tumu, then the pipelines will
big push. Okay, the upper east side.
What I'm saying is that I'll add on to what Edudzi is saying, as far as how we can make sure transportation becomes a bit more conducive. Aside that, where can we build additional strategic reserves so we can show up more for the future? And then, as I've already said, I think it's commendable that NAPO has constituted a committee, that they are currently looking at the issue on a daily basis. It's something that needs to continue to ensure we are ahead of the crisis or the looming of the crisis.
Yes,
look, Roland, I'm a very objective person. If a government is doing something that's positive, I'll commend it, as I've done it live on air. that the decision to convene a meeting and look at it ahead is okay. So, Edudzi, you guys continue, but I think your strategy should look at reserves. How do we store more reserves?
To be honest,
forward?
the current reserve that we have, and I've spoken to industry person, is one of the longest we've had in terms of
some
prices.
time.
And then lastly, I know we have more strategic reserves that we haven't explored. So perhaps we need to look at how we can explore some of our strategic reserves to sort of give us a bit more buffer. Right now we consume about 4 billion barrels, 4 billion liters a year. But out of which
last year we actually did 6.
Yeah. So it's increased more than that. Okay, so that's even that's interesting.
Over 700 billion is better than 120 billion. But what should we be doing generally?
So what we should be doing is that you must advise those going to write BEC and WASI that they must never take the position of Kofi Tonto, that 120 billion is greater than 740 billion.
Says West.
I've never said
that is
like that.
That is mathematical expression.
No,
that 120 billion is less than 700. It can never be allowed. Kofi, let me speak. You were the one. You should correct. No, what were you saying? You were not listening to yourself.
You did also allow you to
speak. Again.
I didn't say
you
that.
didn't say that.
Oh no! Everyone heard him. Everyone heard him, and I was sitting right by him. I heard him. I heard what he said. He said 120 billion was or is better than
750 billion is West.
West.
Was worse than 700 and...
Where did I say that?
Yes, 120 billion is worse than 740 billion, according to them. And I'm advising those going to write BEC not to make the mistake of taking this advice, because they will get zero straight up. Again, it must be put on record that, you see, defending Dr. Mahamadu Bawumia is the most difficult thing. He did not make that statement. We all heard him. And I am very surprised that your producers have not been able to play what exactly he said.
So what he said,
what he said
has context.
What he said, every statement has a context. Every statement has a... But you are a neutral here. Why are you the one defending him? He is a spokesperson, or he is a deputy communication or spokesperson to Dr. Mahamadu Bawumia. You cannot be doing better than him. And I'm saying he himself is sweating on the very statement that his boss made.
We can all come
he is sweating in the... He is sweating. So what the statement still remains that Dr. Mahamadu Bawumia said that how can exogenous factors bypass our neighboring countries such as Ivory Coast, Burkina, Mali, and only affect Ghana? It was this statement he made prior to 2017 that people began questioning him. When he started using, together with communicators in the NPP, using Russia, Ukraine as the basis for their mismanagement. But guess what? You see, to further expose them, he was here saying that how can crude prices triple or double, and then we will be having high prices in 2008. Probably he was not in Ghana. In 2000, during the financial crisis, world crude prices increased up to $147. You were in this country. Under Akufo. But yet we were buying a liter at 1 cedi. When you mismanage your exchange rate, when you decide to print,
at the time,
what is the lie about it? Now let me engage you. At that time, what happened?
At that time,
so you see,
dollar to a CD was about 1 to 5.9 or
so. That's what I'm saying. So you mismanaged the currency. We were doing 23 cedi, 17 cedi to the dollar. If you are doing 17 cedi to the dollar, how do you expect the price of crude to be stable in your country? Again, we don't understand what you said. You came here to pedalize. You didn't understand. You don't have any clue as what you are discussing. You came here to confuse people, and I don't allow that to happen. You understand? Don't try to be doing that. It's not good for your image that you come and sit here when you know very well that your own government in 2008, when the crude price went as far as $147, was able to sell a liter of diesel at 1 cedi. Now you get it at say 80 cedi. That we were supposed to buy per simple mathematics. If more or less divide, less more divide. If 147 is to 1 cedi, then $80 would have been less, maybe 70 pesos or so. We were selling it at 17 cedi, and you are not ashamed of that because you decided to cause your Bank of Ghana to be printing in excess of 60 billion. When you print money in the excess of 60 billion, what it does is that among themselves, they use it to buy the dollars in the system, chop. When you decide at the point in the country, first time in the history of our country, that a government will say that I'm using gold to go and buy crude.
Jesus.
Gold for oil.
Well, what is a good policy?
So bad. That is why they ran away from it. We lost about 1.82 billion in that transaction. We didn't know the end-to-end encryption. Those that were buying, those that were middlemen. You do all these things.
So what solution should we do?
The solution is that they must be disciplined. The only thing we lack in this country is discipline. As they are doing, they must continue. They must not be over. So, I mean, once you are disciplined, everything will fall in line. Because you see, you win some, you lose some. As prices, if prices decide to go, crude prices decide to go up, we will make benefit win from the gold and use it to balance. Moreover, we are also exporting the crude. What have we been using with our crude monies? So that the economy will be sustained and never again. You see the way you are sweating. It's very, very difficult to defend Dr. Mahamadu Bawumia.
Say these things, they are terrible because
which one is terrible? Nobody is terrible here. What are you talking about?
What? There is a law.
Which one is the law?
Please listen to me. There is a law on how petrol proceeds are used. So when somebody sits here and just make such an unfounded...
Which one is unfounded? Which one is unfounded?
It's a law.
Which one is unfounded? Which one is... Don't make a vague statement. Which one is unfounded? Which one is unfounded?
You are clean.
They claim that what?
Because there is a law.
The which law? And what are you saying? You are not saying... You have said nothing.
You don't know the petroleum fund.
So the petroleum fund allows you to go and use money anyhow? Is that what you are telling me?
Thanks for watching. Like and share the video. You can also drop your comment. Please don't forget to subscribe. Click on the bell to turn on the notification.